This video will help you understand how to move your IRA into your 401k. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Dime. I'm a financial planner out of Edmonds, Washington, and I specialize in working with folks to and through retirement. So it's come to my attention that many folks in the financial space are aware of how to move money from a 401k or another employer-sponsored plan into an IRA. This is commonly called a 401k rollover, for example. Now, of course, you can do this with Roth money as well, but specifically for the genesis of today's conversation, it's how to do the exact opposite. Move money from an IRA into an existing employer's retirement plan, 401k, 403b, etc. Now, of course, there's pros and cons to doing this, and we'll touch on those pros and cons in a future video. Today's video is just logistically how to go about moving money around if it makes sense for your situation to do so. So let's jump in. So in my opinion, there's two main demographics of folks that would look into doing something like this. Now, of course, there's many other ones, but the most common ones that I see in my practice are, number one, DIYers that are looking for simplicity, as well as those who are looking to conduct backdoor Roth IRAs, but have an existing pre-tax IRA on the balance sheet. And we'll talk about why that's a problem later on in the video. Either way, the concept is very similar, and it's in reverse from doing a 401k to IRA rollover. Now, of course, you can do that in a direct rollover fashion or an indirect rollover fashion, but in most situations, I'd highly recommend doing direct rollovers. That avoids any sort of tax withholding or other issues that could go into timing and receiving the funds appropriately, etc. So unless you are dying for a short-term loan, I highly would recommend doing a direct rollover, whether it's 401k to IRA or IRA to 401k. That being said, some 401ks, 403bs, etc. will not accept incoming IRA rollovers. And while technically the IRS does permit this move, some employer-sponsored plans, for whatever reason, will not allow this move for their specific plan. Maybe for whatever reason, the employer-sponsored plan finds it to be like an administrative hurdle to do this. Personally, if I'm a big old investment custodian, I don't see why I wouldn't want to incentivize this so I can manage more money for the entire world. But just know that some employer plans will not permit an IRA to retirement plan rollover. Now, no employer-sponsored plan should accept, unless they want to break the law, a Roth IRA to Roth employer-sponsored plan rollover. For example, you can't move a Roth IRA into a Roth 401k. Now, you can move an old Roth 401k to a new Roth 401k, and of course, you can move a new or old Roth 401k into an existing Roth IRA, but you can't move a Roth IRA anywhere else. Once it's in a Roth IRA, it has to stay there. And further nuance from this is a third type of bucket, which would be after-tax traditional IRA money. You can move that money from your employer-sponsored plan into an IRA or a Roth IRA, but you can't move it from a traditional IRA into an existing 401k. And yes, that does mean that there's a chance not all of your traditional IRA can move into your 401k. For most people though, your IRA is entirely made up of pre-tax money. Otherwise, you'd have Form 8606 on your tax return, and it would designate how much of your IRA is considered basis or after-tax money. But just know, you can't move the after-tax portion of your IRA into an employer-sponsored 401k. In addition to just regular traditional IRAs, you've also got SEP IRAs and simple IRAs. Those can all get consolidated into your existing 401k as well. Again, assuming the employer-sponsored plan permits it. So in my opinion, the first step to figure out if you can do this move is to call your employer-sponsored plan. Whether it's 1-800-FIDELITY or Vanguard or whatever, you call them and you figure out, hey, can I move my IRA into the 401k? And then you basically ask them what is their customized process. Now, every institution is going to be a little bit different. Generally, they'll accept the deposit into the 401k in one of two ways. Either by them receiving a physical check with your IRA balance on it, or via you uploading that check into some sort of like customized app. Either way though, you're going to want to ask them how they prefer to receive the check, whether it's mail or app, and how they want that check made out. Again, if the goal is to do a direct rollover, which is recommended in 99% of cases, you're going to want to inquire as to how the receiving institution chooses to have the check made out. It's not as easy just to say, made out to my 401k for the benefit of me. So for example, with Fidelity 401k plans, a lot of times they like the check made out to FIIOC, FBO, or for the benefit of, and then your name as the plan participant. Again, you're going to want to just double check this process because you do not want to make any mistakes, because mistakes can be tax heavy. And the goal of this move is to pay no tax. Just to be clear again, you do not want the check made out to you. You don't want your name on the made payable to line, because then it is no longer a direct rollover. Let's say you call your institution and they say, hey, we prefer to receive a check in the mail. If the receiving institution, or where your 401k is at, if that investment custodian prefers to receive a physical check in the mail, I would then ask them if they have any special forms needed as part of this process. There's been a couple of times where we've done this for clients where the receiving institution didn't confirm that they wanted some sort of special paperwork with the check. We had the delivering institution send the check directly to the receiving institution, and they rejected the check because it didn't have XYZ paperwork, whatever. So if they do require a special form to be attached to the check or with the check in the same envelope, you're probably going to want the sending institution or delivering institution, where your IRA is, send the check to your house. Then you're going to want to relay that check with whatever form that the receiving institution wants to that receiving institution. And then you physically go drop it in the mail to FedEx or whatever. If, on the other hand, the receiving institution just says, oh, you can just upload your check via the app that we have, then again, though, you're going to want the delivering institution to send the check directly to you. But again, in all cases, you don't want the check made payable to you. You just want your name on the address to where the check delivery is going to go. And then when you upload it via the app, they'll probably have some other questions that are in alignment with whatever intake rollover form that the other scenario would have had you do. So just make sure you check with your advisor or delivering institution to make sure you code things correctly. In all circumstances though, if there's a check that's going in the mail, I oftentimes recommend paying for expedited shipping, whether it's 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever, because usually that expedited shipping will land in your mailbox in like 1 to 2 business days, and there's a tracking number. So if things get lost in the sauce, you can always have the sending institution cancel the check and then resend you another one. Whereas if there's no tracking information, then it's 5 to 7 business days just to figure out the check got lost, to then do another 5 to 7 business days. And at this point, we're like halfway through the month already, which for, I guess, super small accounts wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but for any account worth a sizable amount of money, you might as well pay for the expedited shipping, because the faster that this money gets back into the market, because this whole time the money is just in cash, the faster the money gets back in the market, law of large numbers, over time you can expect your money to compound and grow, and by paying for the expedited shipping, it can sometimes pay for itself. So why those two aforementioned demographics? DIYers for simplicity, and those who are looking to do backdoor Roth IRAs but have an existing IRA on the balance sheet. So first, let's touch on DIYers. So if for whatever reason you have decided I will never hire an advisor for help with my financial accounts, you insist on managing everything, and let's just say you're not doing a great job of that. Rather than mismanaging 2 accounts, an IRA and a 401k, you might as well only mismanage 1 account by consolidating everything into your existing 401k plan. That being said, with all seriousness, you may or may not be doing a phenomenal job managing your IRA and 401k, but just by definition, it's simpler to manage 1 account versus 2. And most retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, of course, will allow you to purchase what are called target date funds. And while I don't necessarily infallibly recommend everybody put their money into target date funds, it can oftentimes be a very simple solution to having an account automatically rebalance or make adjustments and get more conservative as you get older to whatever designated retirement age you pick for that fund. Are they perfect? No, but are they super simple, easy to set and forget? Absolutely. And so a lot of times those can be the best solution. The other demographic of those who are looking to do backdoor Roth IRAs but have an existing IRA on the balance sheet, the reason that this is a problem, well, first and foremost, if you're unfamiliar with what a backdoor Roth IRA is, I'll link above to one of my first ever YouTube videos explaining the process of how this works. But the bottom line is, when you fund an IRA and then you look to do a Roth conversion, which is the second part of the backdoor Roth IRA strategy, if you have an existing IRA on the balance sheet, the IRS looks at your pre-tax IRA money and your non-deductible IRA money that you contributed, and it pulls it all together in what's called an aggregation rule. Then, when you look to do a Roth conversion, the IRS will assume that a percentage of what you're Roth converting is coming from pre-tax and a percentage is coming from your non-deductible IRA or after-tax. That takes what otherwise was a completely tax-free event, funding a non-deductible IRA and then Roth converting it, into a most likely pretty taxable Roth conversion, whereby the majority most likely of your Roth conversion will be considered taxable income to you. And unfortunately, there's no real way to parse out non-deductible from deducted traditional IRA money unless you do a traditional IRA to 401k rollover. We'll get into the nuance in a future video on how to do that with backdoor Roth IRAs, But just know that since existing 401k plans cannot accept after-tax money, you could theoretically fund your IRA with the IRA contribution for that year, make it a non-deductible contribution, and then parse out all the pre-tax money and send that to your 401k. That's totally permitted. You just have to make sure that you do all the math correctly. Either way though, if you fund your IRA before moving it or you fund your IRA after you move all the pre-tax money onto the 401k, then you can do your Roth conversion, no harm, no foul. Now there's some disagreement in the tax space as to exactly when to time these moves of doing the IRA to 401k rollover, the funding of the IRA, and then the subsequent conversion. If you wait till after the tax filing deadline, if you wait till after the calendar year for part of it, but not the other part. We'll get into that nuance in a future video, and I'd recommend speaking with your tax professional. But the bottom line is, philosophically, once you remove all pre-tax IRA money off your balance sheet, you can then do backdoor Roth IRA moves and pay no tax in doing so. The timing of it though, that might require a little bit of a nuance relative to your situation. So from a calls to action standpoint, I would analyze your current situation if you're not working with an advisor to see if you'd benefit from consolidating things into your 401k. Keep in mind though, a lot of 401k plans, once you do this move, it's irrevocable until you leave that employer. So just make sure you've thought through some of the pros and cons, which again, I'll talk about in a future video. In addition, if you've considered doing backdoor Roth IRAs, but you haven't because you have an existing IRA on the balance sheet, if you have no other places to save and fund Roth money into, maybe you have more room to grow instead of a Roth 401k, or you have access to an after-tax 401k that you're not fully contributing to. If you have access to some of those vehicles, I really wouldn't worry about this. But if you've maxed all that out and you're still looking for ways to fund more money into Roth, first off, more power to you because that's like 50 grand a year in savings. But if ultimately you do want to do that, the second thing you're going to want to look into is freeing up that traditional IRA pre-tax money off your balance sheet. And in my opinion, one of the best ways to do that is to move your IRA into your existing 401k. If you have further questions, drop them in the comments below or get in touch with the website. We'll help you get squared away. Have an awesome rest of your week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.